focus on in practice when you don't know exactly who you're going to play yet?
You just focus on yourself more than anything. Um, you can get into it and try to predict it in your mind what you think and go that way. That normally doesn't work. Whoever you think is probably going to win isn't. It's kind of the rule of thumb. We will work on a couple different things from Rutgers and a couple different things from Michigan, and just kind of discuss that with our guys. Not a lot of stuff because you don't. First of all, you don't want to waste time, and then second of all, it's just one of those things where you're just kind of working on yourself and trying to get better, and just try to help you prepare for your game on Friday at noon.
Regardless of who you play, there's going to be some differences with Rutgers and Michigan. Rutgers doesn't have Mag anymore, and Howard probably would play for Michigan.
Right.
How does that change their teams, and what do they face on Friday?
Well, Mag really gave him that extra defender, that guy that could guard a lot of different people. If they'd go to their 1-3-1, he'd be on the top of that 1-3-1, kind of causing havoc. But he's just gotten better each year and made improvements. It was sad to see him go down and miss the rest of the year. But you can kind of see from how they've played, like they really miss him. And he did a lot of things for them. But they still have good interchangeable pieces. Caleb McConnell, was out, I think, a game or two, but still had a lingering injury. And so, it kind of gets difficult at the end if you lose somebody, you have some injuries, and then all of a sudden, you don't quite have the record that you thought you were going to have, but you're still a pretty good team, right? And they've struggled to score where they were scoring the ball better at the beginning of the year, where we played Michigan without Jet Howard. So obviously, he averages around 15, 16 points a game, can really stretch the floor, very talented, just a big-time shot maker. So it's just kind of like with Mag, it's one less guy, and then with Jet Howard, it's one less guy. It just is. Now, if you play Rutgers, Andre Hyatt has really had a pretty good year. He's done some good things, and that's who starts instead of Mag now. And so they still have those interchangeable pieces with McKahee, McConnell, and with him, whereas like Jet Howard, it just puts a little bit more on Bufkin, and I think you see him being more aggressive when Jet Howard's not out there, and I think he's had a really good year. But that tandem, that Bufkin and Howard to go along with Hunter is pretty tough to deal with.
Matt, the second half hasn't been kind to your team lately. What factors have you identified that's causing that?
Well, I think in the second half we actually got off to a good start against Illinois, and then they went on a run. We had a couple breakdowns. One was my fault on a 4-5 ball screen switch that we should have just stayed with. The other one was just kind of matching up to Zach right there, and they picked on him, and they were able to get a three, which is difficult. A lot of the times when we struggle, whether it's first half, second half, it really kind of lends to the turnovers. And in that stretch for us, we just didn't make shots like we had in the first half, and they obviously did. They are an unbelievable team on runs. So what you saw in our game, you see in a lot of Illinois games where they get up big, other team comes storming back, or they get down big and then they come storming back. So just trying to not look at it from a hit and miss standpoint, trying to look at it from an efficiency standpoint. Are we getting good shots and just not making them? Or are we not getting the quality of shot that we wanted? I thought Zach kind of rushed some things in that second half. He got position. Obviously, he made a nice up and under to put us up 2 after they tied it. But no, I thought in the Wisconsin game we did some good things in the second half, but we started off slow. It was kind of opposite of that, and then we kind of regrouped and made better plays. Things are obviously going to look better, when the ball goes in. The Ohio State game, it was all right. Indiana game, we were getting the shots we wanted and just not making them, and they were getting the shots we wanted to, and they were making them. I know that's kind of a play on words there, but that's exactly what we were getting them into tough twos. We were getting the ball at the rim, and we were getting good-looking threes, and that's what you want analytically. And we just didn't convert. So sometimes it's not as much as you're not playing well, you're not shooting well. And then other time you're just not playing well. Like it's second half of the Rutgers game, of the Maryland game. We're up 8. We play really well to start the half. We get up 8. They call timeout, and then we implode. And so we just probably have our worst, probably 15, 14 minutes of basketball right there this season, and that was everything. So it's hard to I tried to go through the games for you, but it's hard to give it a blanket answer. You know what I mean? Because if it's a blanket answer, if it was a blanket answer, we wouldn't be 26-5.
Matt, I've been asking some of the younger guys about how Zach has handled his the leadership role that he has, that he's had thrust upon him because of his productivity, almost to a person they say leads by example. But to
Right.
lead by example, you have to set an example. What's the example that he's setting for these younger
Right.
guys?
I just think, and more than anything, is how you produce in games and how you're ready to play. I think from a competitive standpoint, he's been ready to play. He's done some really good things for us. He has a good routine about how he goes about practice. He's a guy that embraces practice, but he also does things before and after with his routine to get himself ready. So a lot of times you're going to hear that about people that aren't as outspoken. He's more reserved than he is outspoken, even though when he gets mad, he'll speak on things. So.
What do you need to get out of this week, whether it's 1 game, 2 game, 3 games, to go into the NCAA tournament feeling you're playing your best?
Yeah, you just want to put your best foot forward. Like it's, what are you playing for? You're playing to beat the guy in front of you. Like, don't overthink it. Like, it's okay, you're playing for a 1 seed, you're playing for a 2 seed, don't overthink it. Like, it's hard enough the way it is. Like, just keep it on Rutgers or keep it on Michigan, whoever comes our way, and then just keep that focus right there. And that's the best way to go about it and give yourself, the best chance to win those games. But obviously you want to win them all, but you can't do that unless you win the first one.
A lot of guys have talked about how everybody on this team buys into a role and knows Zach's going to give you 20 and 10, but
Right.
it's everybody else chipping in whatever they can to win, and win is the most important stat. Kind of what does Caleb first bring to that dynamic?
Well, everybody on your team should be a rebounder and defender. Everybody. Like, everybody should fit into that and understand that and accept that. And Caleb's, has really given us, a spark with his ability to defend and rebound. Yeah, I thought he's done a better job as it's went on here at finishing at the rim. He hasn't gotten going shooting on the perimeter as much, but he doesn't get a lot of opportunities either. When you play off of somebody like you do with Zach, it's more opportunistic than anything. But no, he has a great attitude and he plays hard and has done a lot of little things to help us win.
Going off of that, you mentioned the last game that Trey's obviously done a better job improving on the defensive end of the court. Just in what aspects have you seen that really come to fruition and help him get onto the court a little more?
Yeah, just
down the
his
stretch?
details in ball screen D has been much better. His ability to play post defense and then guard guys. We double a majority of the time, so you're going to get some help, but there are times that you got to be one-on-one. And he's just given it more attention. He's been more detail oriented, and you can see, he's the one guy on the team that has a gripe. A lot of times everybody thinks they have a gripe, but he's the one that actually does. But his is very circumstantial because of Zachary.
Right.
And so, but that makes sense, and you guys understand all that. But it's still, when you're a good player like he is, it doesn't feel that way, and that's really hard. So I don't try to mix words when it comes to that. He's a really, really good player, but Zach's just established himself so well that you don't like have him out of the game.
You guys win the Big Ten by 3 games. Only get 1 player named to the All-Big-10. Is that something you have any thoughts on?
Oh yeah, we got what we came for.
Right.
Yeah. So that's fine. If they want to vote that way, they can vote that way. But everybody in our league and every player would trade positions to be where we are. So that wasn't our goal. Our goal this year wasn't to be all conference or coach of the year. Our goal was to win the Big Ten, and we did it. We did it by 3 games. If people out there that vote don't value winning, it just shows you they don't know much about basketball. But I do my voting, and unless it's extreme, when it gets to the end, for me, it's winning versus losing. If you want to put somebody on an all-conference team, that lost more than somebody that wins, he better be considerably better than him. Because if it's close in the way I vote, I go with the guy that wins. I always that's what you play for. You don't play for awards. You play to win and the satisfaction of winning. And you shouldn't get off that. So, like I said earlier, we got what we came for. We came to get the 25th Big Ten championship, and we accomplished that. You guys got to keep moving on.
What is your take on the importance of the Big Ten tournament after winning the Big Ten regular season title already?
I think the importance is playing well more than anything. I used to put great stock into it, and you'd get down, and you go into the tournament, or you get on a high, and you go in the tournament. Sometimes playing better would hurt you versus not playing as well. It kind of gets you on edge, which I know doesn't make a whole lot of sense on the outside looking in. So there's a lot of different ways things can happen. You got to psychologically get yourself ready to play in the NCAA tournament. You just do, no matter what has happened. So sometimes winning it or winning a game or two, like, you know, okay, we played well, we did some good things, then you don't quite play as well. You know, that's the whole thing, is just trying to have a gauge on your team. It's just not that simple. You know, it's not a cookie cutter where you can have just a blanket answer and tweet it out, and that's just the answer. It's just not the way it works. You got to have a pulse on your team and a pulse on the situation, but it's also competition where you're going against somebody else too. So there's a lot of variables involved.
And you mentioned just taking it one game at a time. How do you kind of instill that in your players to make sure that they're not looking too far down the road?
Yeah. If you lose, you go home. You know, that's just simple. You know, like, you know, you got to get yourself ready, and you know, you have to have more hunger than your opponent. Like, you know, this isn't going to their place, they're coming to yours. You know, it's going to be a neutral site, everything's straight up, and you got to be able to do the things necessary to put yourself in position to win, and then be able to make those plays to win those games.
And how do you get them ready to potentially play multiple days in a row and not really have much time to rest and reset?
Yeah, you win the first game. That's how you get ready. Yeah, no, you don't talk in theory, you don't talk in the whole. You just talk Rutgers or you talk Michigan. And then if you're fortunate enough to beat one of those, you talk about your next opponent, and you just keep it right there. You keep it simple.
You did it before. I mean, you did it in Portland. Do you draw upon any of that experience for the Big Ten tournament, having had success?
I'll draw upon it if we play that way. Yeah, I'm really positive when we play well. And so, yeah, I think that's a good point, because like it's the only scenario it's going to be 3 in 3 days, right? Or 3 in 4 days, or whatever it was in Portland. I don't know, was it 3 in 3 days?
3 and 4.
3 and 4, there you go. So yeah, but it's also playing Marquette at home, playing West Virginia there, playing Gonzaga, playing Duke, like in a row. So we kept that simple. There wasn't a lot that went into that. There just wasn't. There wasn't a lot of games already played. It was more about us playing well, and very fortunate to beat Marquette. Obviously, we played well the last 10 minutes of the game. Huggies teams are always really, really difficult. And then trying to match up to Gonzaga with a talented group, and obviously Drew Timme, and then all that young talent at Duke, you know, just going against those guys. But everybody is kind of finding themselves at that time. It's a little different. If you haven't found yourself at this point after 31 games, you're probably going on spring break. So like, this is a little different because, and you know what's coming on both sides, right? So, you know, playing in conference, everybody's very, very familiar with each other. That's a difference. I think we had a little bit of an advantage in that tournament, just because I don't think people understood the magnitude of Zach and the impact that he can make on a game. I think after that tournament, I think people realized that. I know I realized it before, but I don't know if everybody else did. Just because, you know, if I play him the same amount of minutes the year before, he's an All-American last year too. Like, I mean, it's pretty easy to say. All right, thank